There are hopes an earthquake simulation in Porirua might result in homes being better prepared for a big shake. Houses on Christchurch's Port Hills suffered more damage than houses in other areas during the Canterbury Earthquakes, even though the ground shaking was roughly the same. Now, the Earthquake Commission is on a mission to find out why that was and prevent the same level of damage in future quakes. Our reporter Logan Church and video journalist Dom Thomas start their report up a hilly farm above Wellington.
On an inconspicuous hill just off the Haywards Hill Road north of Wellington, 4 large wooden platforms have been built, each with different foundations. A grey box-shaped machine sits on top, and when turned on, counterweights rock the platforms backwards and forwards.
So what we are doing, the grey box up the top, is a counter-rotating shaker, and it imparts a lateral shaking movement in one direction to the floor structure.
That's Roger Shelson of Brands and an experienced structural engineer, and his job today is to make an earthquake, or at least controlled shaking. It's all to test how different building foundations act in a quake. The foundations in front of us are standard piles, often seen in older buildings. When the machine is on, the revs are turned up and the platform starts to rock, and we can see the joints between different parts of the wooden beams start to shake loose. We're told the earthquake recreated here today would be significant.
There are certain aspects of the behaviour that surprised me. I was expecting that the joints would be the weak link, the connections between the different pieces of timber. They are a weak link, we know that quite well, but I also found that the foundations moved in the ground a lot more than I was expecting. And I'm quite an experienced engineer, so that was quite a significant finding.
The idea of the research came after the Canterbury Earthquakes of 2010 and 2011. EQC, which is funding this research, paid out $10 billion in the aftermath. Its head of resilience, strategy and research, Joe Horrock, says homes on Christchurch's Port Hills reacted very differently to those on the plains below.
So we learnt from the Canterbury earthquakes that a lot of homes on the slopes, on the hillside, on the Port Hills, didn't fare so well compared to their counterparts experiencing the same shaking on flatland. So we wanted to look at this a little bit deeper and find out why they failed, how and what we can do about it in the future.
And that research is something Roger Shelson says is particularly relevant to the Wellington region.
As we need solutions that the homeowner can get a builder to do very easily, cost-effectively, and there's an incentive for them to do it.
This testing will continue while the weather permits. Then Brands will take the data it's collected and come up with ways existing foundations can be retrofitted to make them stronger.
As we have a lot of hills in Wellington, and we have a lot of this type of house in Wellington, and we need to assess how well they behave and, if possible, improve them, because we need to keep New Zealanders in their houses after an earthquake. We need them to be habitable so they can stay there rather than having to go somewhere else. That's vitally important.
While EQC's Joe Horrock says she hopes this research might result in changes to building rules.
We hope that the building code might be changed, or there might be new codes or standards that are developed for houses on sloping land. We certainly hope that the building industry and the construction industry will build to a higher standard. The building code is a minimum life safety requirement. We would like builders to build to a higher standard so that there's less damage in earthquakes and other events.
Events that EQC hopes this research will enable homeowners to be a little more ready for. In Wellington for Checkpoint, Logan Church.